close. Hi everyone, welcome back to Notemon. Today we did a DIY cornucopia for a window display. So welcome back and happy Tuesday. To do this, I used 11 wire coat hangers, and to start off, I just deconstructed the coat hanger shape and straightened it out so that it was just one long straight wire. And I did this 11 times. Okay, so now that that's all done, I got them all facing the same direction. I duct taped the end together so that we could start forming the cornucopia shape. But before I did that, I realized I had too many in the line. So you only need 9, or depending on how big or small you want to make it, just make sure that you have an odd amount of wires so that you'll be able to weave later. So then I took one of the extra wires and I made a semi-large loop. This one's going to be the one at the very end of the cornucopia, so it's my bigger loop. And I just, as you can see, twisted the coat hanger into the size that I wanted, and I was using some needle nose pliers to try and get the ends tucked in the right way and everything, trying to avoid using duct tape as much as possible. So once I was happy with that shape, I went into a second coat hanger and made it just slightly smaller and repeated the steps all the way through again. Once I got that finished, it was time to start constructing this. So I took the smaller loop and some jewelry wire or floral wire and just began basically tying them together with one strand I started with, and I just used the floral wire to wrap around all 4 directions of the 2 coat hanger wires. Again, using the needle nose pliers so that I wasn't having like sharp pieces of metal sticking out. And then I realized it was very difficult to do this alone and I didn't have enough hands, so my wonderful husband stepped in and held the circular wire for me while I continued to use the floral wire or the jewelry wire to tie the long straight strands to the circle. Having finally finished that, we stood it up on end and started spacing everything out, and then realized that they were sliding way too much to hold their shape. So what we ended up doing was first changing the camera angle so you could see what we were doing, and then hot gluing around the floral wire and the coat hangers so that they would stay in place better. Then we moved on to getting ready to do the end circle. It was basically the same thing, but a little bit of a different process. We ended up, he was holding, obviously, the circle for me, and I applied hot glue first and then wrapped the wire around and inside the hot glue. Because it's the end, I didn't want the long words or things that sometimes our brains forget. The coat hanger, those straight coat hangers, to be sticking out past the circle at the end. So this was making it a little bit more difficult, which is why we ended up having to hot glue them first, hold it in place, and then while the glue was cooling, being able to wrap wire around it. So once that's all done and you've got your glue all dried and everything, it's time to start shaping this thing like a cornucopia. So I just grabbed it and kind of manhandled the wires, shaping the smaller part to have that curve that is so iconic with a cornucopia. And I was having a little bit of a struggle with it until I realized it's because all of these wires are the same length. That's not going to happen. It will never happen if they're all the same length. So what I ended up doing was, once I got a general shape, I untaped the back end and started maneuvering each wire individually. And once I was happy with the shape that it finally got to, then I retaped the bottom, and I ended up trimming down pieces that were sticking out of the bottom at the end so they were all even. And so there's the base of it. That's the cage that we're going to start to weave. So I got this ribbon. It's like burlap, and I got it at Dollar Tree. Each roll is $1. It's 9 feet long. I got way too many, but I think I ended up using 3 or 4 of them. So to start it off, I just hot glued this burlap ribbon to the very base and tip. And once it dried, I just wrapped it around in circles to cover up to, well, basically to cover where the duct tape is holding everything together, to hide that as much as I could. So once I got up to that level, it became time to start weaving it. So for this part, I unwound the entire roll for the first one and just started weaving in and out between each wire, making sure that I kept the pattern correct going all the way through. And then once you have your rhythm started, you can just continue to do it all the way until you get to the very, very end. I did glue together each ribbon as it ran out, and you can't even notice it in the final product. Okay, and so this is how it ended up looking after I got all of that weaving done. So to do some final touches on this, I got this also at the Dollar Tree for $1. This orange kind of, I don't know, what is it? Taffeta, something, I don't know. This really cool ribbon that's really see-through. And did the same thing. So I glued it onto the base and wrapped it up a certain amount to hide some of the white wires. Glued that all in place, and then took another piece, measured out how much I needed, folded it in half, and then tied it around where that smaller circle is to try and hide that piece. And once that was happy and I got it situated into a type of bow situation to make it look pretty, I moved on to the open face part, which I also wanted to cover in this orange ribbon. And just like with the center bow, I folded this in half so that it would kind of overlap that white circular cage and hide it a little bit more. And so this is how it turned out in its finality. I think it came out really well. I'm very happy with it. It looks great in our front window display, which I'm going to show you pictures of here in just a second. I hope that this video was fun for you guys, maybe some educational, maybe it gives you an idea for some of the things that you want to decorate for fall. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, anybody who you think might be interested. You can also subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you find all of the videos that I put up. And you can also find me on Twitter and Instagram at Notemon on both. And I have the blog at notemon.com. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful season. Knock.